Hello everyone, welcome to the cello case. Turn your music around with your finger, so swipe your finger, and if you're looking on YouTube you can see that you can move it that way, but you can also take your finger and swipe. So we are going to look at what's called in this book the Great Pyramid. It's how all these musical notes fit together to create rhythms in our music. It's very important that you have this as your foundation and understand this from the very beginning of note reading. The one that we learned on page 3, and page 3 was the pizzicato finger bells. We learned quarter notes, and quarter notes are the closed dark circle with the stem. And in 4/4 we learned that there will be 4 of those in each measure. Well, this whole page, each one of these lines just has one measure, and it represents all the different kinds of rhythms that we can have, because we don't always talk in the same rhythm all the time. Sometimes we talk really fast, and sometimes we talk very slow. And in music, we have a rhythm with music as well, and there's a way that groups of people figure out how to play together because they know how to count and they know how to do these notes. So we learned quarter notes, 4 per measure. If we go up one line, one staff line, we see 2 half notes. The open circle with the stem is a half note. Half notes are twice as long as a quarter note. Quarter notes get 1 beat in 4/4 time, or common time. Half notes get 2 beats. So if they only get 2 beats, then there will be 2 of them in each measure. So there's 2 half notes in this measure. If we go up one more line, we have an open circle with no stem on it. The open circle with no stem is called a whole note. And a whole note holds out for 4 counts. Very long if you're going slow, and not so long. It depends upon how fast your rhythm or beat is, but you want to hold it for 4 counts. Then I'm going to go down one more level to the ones that are called eighth notes, and this is how music becomes mathematical slightly, because now we have quarter notes, we have eighth notes, we have half notes, we have whole notes. Well, the eighth note is half the time of a quarter note. So there'll be 2 eighth notes in every quarter note. 2 eighth notes in every quarter note. These line up with the beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. And for future reference, we don't do 16th notes in this book, but you will later. And then there's also 32nd notes, there's 64th notes, there's you can get kind of infinitesimal with making these notes faster and shorter and look more crazy on the page. So these are 16th notes with the beam across with 2 lines is a 16th note, and the 32nd notes have 3 beams across, and each time they get faster, or they take, so this eighth note, there's 2 16ths in every eighth note, there's 2 32nds in every 16th note. So there's a mathematical formula there. There's also a mathematical formula with time. So if you have a beat of 1, 2, 3, 4, this one's going to be 1, 3, and this one will be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 te, 2 te, 3 te, 4 te, 1 ta te ta, 2 ta te ta, 3 ta te ta, 4 ta te ta, 1 ta ta te ta ta. So, and so on and so forth. I use tas. This was a new thing when I went to college, to use tas and tes instead of ands and e's, because e starts not not on a consonant, but on a vowel, and so it doesn't have an exact start time. So I like tas and tays. I was taught that at probably the end of my high school, and all through college we use tays and tas. So I use that formula. I don't know how popular it is now, but I use it with my students. And then I would like you to take some time and answer these questions down at the bottom. This is your theory page for this lesson, but we're going to go on and we're going to learn about this magical thing called the bow. And this will also be part of this video. So let me set this pointer down. If you will swipe your finger back around to me, I am going to pull my bow up. So the bow has different parts, which you may have already learned about. If not, let me do a quick refresher course. So the tip of the bow, this is called the tip plate. Inside here, and this is the hair. Inside here there's a mortise with a plug that holds the hair in place. And the hair is from horse's tail. I'll pull it apart in a little bit. This is the stick. This is the frog. This is the end. I want to say end button, but I know that violins are also called end buttons, so there's a little confusion in my head there. There's a screw in here that goes into a mortise. I think the bow is fascinating. These were developed hundreds of years ago, and there's a mortise. If you can see that mortise, there's a hole right here. The screw goes through there. The little brass fitting of the frog goes into that mortise, and when you turn the screw right, will tighten the hair, so that pulls the frog back on the bow. If you have a question about why it's called the frog, look it up. There's some controversy on that. I don't know what the real answer is, but this is the frog. The hair is also slid in here, and there's a mortise inside your frog. So there's a couple of things about your bow. When you're not playing, leave no tension on the hair. When you're playing, you're going to tighten the screw. So if I'm holding it in my right hand, the screw gets tightened toward me. I turn it toward me. When I loosen, I turn it away. It's the same idea of the righty-tighty, lefty-loosey of any type of screw. And as you notice, what happens is the hair gets farther and farther away from the bow. Good rule of thumb on this one is to put your thumb in the middle of the bow right until it fits. It depends upon how stiff your bow is. If you're playing and your bow hair is hitting the stick, you want to tighten it just a little bit more. I play in a really old stiff bow, so I don't need my bow tightened too much. And then this is your grip. This bow was made before we had all of the issues with ivory and tortoiseshell and whalebone, and so my bow it has whalebone. It's since gotten kind of old and off. It also has a tortoiseshell frog on it, which we can't have anymore. I think my bow was made in the 1960s. By a gentleman in Germany. It's a beautiful bow. I actually have a different bow that I play on for performances because this one's a little clunky to me. But so the one thing about the bow is you don't want to use it as a cane or a sword. I would never put it on the stand, especially if you're in a group of kids. Kids and people in general, just even in a pit orchestra, they won't see a bow on the stand and they'll walk right into it. Your bow falls on the floor and this breaks. So I would always make sure your bow is put somewhere where it is safe and not going to get knocked off of anything. Usually, and I would say when I play in the pit orchestra, if there was any way for us to keep our cello case was close by, I would make sure that I kept it close by. If not, I would put it somewhere where it wasn't anywhere where someone was going to walk, and that included my instrument. Never leave your end pin out when you're in a group either. If you put your cello down by your chair, always put your end pin in. Violinists and violists do not see end pins. They'll walk right into them, and your cello is over on the front, and you have a nice sound post crack in the front of your cello, and it's expensive. So be careful with the bow. The bow is very thin up here. Now, the other thing that I want to show you, if you can see it, is there is a natural curve, a logarithmic curve, that if you took it all the way out would create a big circle. Modern bows have this curve in them, and they weren't this way to begin with. A bow that is being made is flat. It's completely straight. They get heated up, and they get this curve put in them on purpose. And I'll tell you, as a bow maker, it takes more time to put the camber curve in than it does to carve the bow. So it's very, very important. If you leave your bow tight when you're not playing, you're going to lose the curve in your camber, and you will have to pay money to get it recambered. So every time you play, loosen your bow. When you play, tighten your bow. Now we're going to talk about a bow hold, a basic bow hold, and we're going to learn down bow and up bow today on the open strings. Bow holds, some controversy there. Biggest thing that's not controversial is that you want to have the most relaxed bow hold that you can have. So I often will have people kind of grab a ball or a cup, something that you hold all the time, that you're not tense or tired. You know how to do that, and it's easy. The bow hold is the same way. With the cello bow, all fingers go over the edge. Depends upon how your bow is weighted and how your hand is, but most people will put third finger on the eye of the frog, and then these fingers go over the edge. But you don't want your fingers to be too close together or too far apart. Any tension across the top of the hand is not okay. So relaxed hand, come up, your fingers go over the edge. This looks easy, it's not. I've been playing since I was a teenager, so and not that I'm that great, but I think I have a good bow hold. So then your thumb, there's a spot right here. Some people will put it up here, but I put it right in front of the frog. Depends upon kind of the size of your hand and what feels most comfortable. But my thumb tends to go right here, if you can see that. And no banana thumbs. Always relaxed and round. You want to have a big circle in here so that you can kind of swipe your video just a little bit too. You don't want to have this like compressed. Sometimes with my little kids I'll say, okay, there's a squirrel crawling up the inside of your hand, and you want to make sure that there's room for him to grow. Then the other thing is how relaxed you can be with this bow. You don't hold your bow, your cello holds the bow, and you're just pulling it back and forth. So if you take your left hand over here and kind of get this motion, get it relaxed, make sure all your joints are round, no red joints, no locked joints. Only use as much muscle and power of your hand here to keep the bow in your hand. You don't have to squeeze it. It weighs 80 grams. So it's super light. You want this to be as relaxed and easy as possible. So using this hand over here to kind of get that hold going, and I will tell you that it takes a month or two to get relaxed at the bow. So when you put the bow on the string and you get what you think is a good bow hold, everything's round, everything looks relaxed, and you put it on the string. After every measure or two, take a deep breath, relax, look at your hand. I want you to get a good visual for what a bow hold looks like. And then I want you to be really patient, because this is not intuitive and it takes a long time to get a nice bow hold and then to get all the fancy bowings that go along with it. So it's not something that comes easy in it, and it's a job, it's work, and also it's an exploration and kind of fun. So go ahead and spin your video around. I'm going to put the bow down for a minute and use the pointer. So go ahead and spin your finger one way or the other to get to the music. And we're going to look at Arco, the lazy bow. And there's a reason why he's lazy, because you're never going to pick, for right now, you're not going to pick your bow up off the string. Once it hits the string and it's in the right place, you're going to be just lazy. This is like relaxed time in the beach. And then you're going to see two symbols. One is a down bow symbol and one is an up bow symbol. The down bow, and if you spin your video around, I'm going to show you this because this is not intuitive on cello. When you're sitting at the cello, down bow is when you pull your arm away from your body. So that's down. Let me do that again. The cello is in front of me. My frog is up here. I'm going to pull away from my body. That's down. If you're a violinist, that's very intuitive, because violinists pull down and then they go up. But with cello, this is down, and tip to frog or pulling into the body is up bow. Down, up. And so spin your video around again and let's look at your music. So this is down, pull away from your body. This is up, pull toward your body. Now you already know that these top lines are A's, and we have a down bow and an up bow on an A. And what note is that? Is this a half note, quarter note? What is that? Let's look over here and see. This is a whole note. So this is going to get 4 counts. So we're going to put our bow on the string and go 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't lift. Lazy bow, and come up bow 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's give that a try. Spin your video back around to me. Set up your position. And I need to get the cello set so that it's not rattling on a chord, because the cello was rattling on that first one. Okay. Yeah, those chords are still down there. Okay. Here we are. We are set. We have our position. You did your hug. You relaxed. Took your deep breath. Get your bow hold, feeling as comfortable as you can in the beginning. We're going to set the bow on the A string. Remember that plane you learned in pizzicato? You're going to have the same plane with your bow. We also want the bow to be parallel to this bridge. So you can pull, and you can test this out either in front of a window mirror or a window at night, and pull your bow up and down to make sure it's parallel with that bridge, the top of the bridge line here. Your bow pull is always going to be parallel to that. And so you can practice that, like, what do I need to do with my arm? I'll show you more about arm stuff in a little while. Bow hold, set your bow on the string, get it parallel to the bridge all the way down. It's hard for me to see that from here. And we're going to play an A, down bow, and up bow. And this is where down bow gets confusing, but it's always a pull away from your body. 1, 2, ready, play. 2, 3, 4. Now up bow. 2, 3, what you're going for is that smooth tone where there's no jitters. I have a little jitter in me today. So, and you may not be able to hear that on this video, but I can feel it. Now, we've just done down bow, up bow. We're going to click our elbow down, just like you did with pizzicato, and we're going to do a down bow, up bow on the D string. Ready, go. 2, 3, 4, up bow. 2, 3, 4. So that's a basic down bow, up bow pull, and then the next two measures are the G string. Now I'm going to give you a hint on how fast. So let me give you some, like, oh no, it doesn't sound like this to me. You might get that sound. If you get that sound, that's too much weight, not enough speed on your bow. So pull it a little faster, lighten up with your arm, and you'll get a better sound. Now, if you get this sound, if you get a whispery sound, you have too fast or not enough weight. So put a little more weight behind your arm over here and try that again. So this is something that takes some time and some patience to learn to do. If you do it on open strings, you already know the names of the open strings, you know where they are on the staff. So all you have to think about is what your bow is doing this time. This week will be a bow week, and it will be on open strings. Some people get like, when will I get to learn a song? And these are these foundational techniques that need to be learned, I think, before you can actually play a song. Because if you have this in your brain, you've got it correct. You don't have to think about it again. Your bow pull and your bow hold and your position at your cello will all become something is second nature, and you don't have to think about it, or it's not learned again. It's learned correctly the first time, and then you don't have to unlearn or relearn something because you've gone too fast into some things. So I want you to take the second week or the second amount of practice until you get to your done and dusted spot, where you can get a nice, good round tone. Down and up on all four strings. And then if you look, and let's spin the video around, I want you to look at the third line and the fourth line. So then we move from whole notes to half notes to quarter notes. So a whole note will use all of your bow, half note will use about half of your bow, and a quarter note will use a fourth of your bow, basically. And these are all things that you're going to get better over time. This is your introduction to the bow. So just get as comfortable as you can with the bow. There's more technique that will come in the future with the bow, so don't be frustrated if you don't have it perfectly. It is something you never stop using and never stop learning how to use. And that is our practice session for today. You've done page 4 and page 5, the top of page 5, and then on our next video we'll do the bottom of page 5 once you've spent a week on the top of page 5.